Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Amazing, amazing. So this session will be recorded, uh, so that for those who won't be able to make it, we can be able to share the link after this. So, guys, welcome again. Uh, we can start with the quote of the day. The quote of the day, we choose the one which says, "Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans," by John Lennon. So the main agenda of today is, first I'll start with the icebreaker. Then we'll go with meeting expectations, which are the in-house rules, and I'll just touch bases on brief about the community. Then we can start. I will welcome our session, our host, and we can start the session. So into our icebreaker, I would need some few volunteers on this, and our icebreaker is, what was your childhood dream, and are you living it today? So any some few volunteers on this. What was your childhood dream, and are you living it today? Anyone from the attendees? If not, then I will just randomly select one, if you guys will be okay. So 1 minute, let me check. Jerry Juma. Sorry, guys. Hi, Jerry. I think Jerry is having problems with his mic, so we can go on with Susan Gidaiga. I hope I pronounced it well. Kindly introduce yourself and say, what was your childhood dream, and are you living it today? Guys, okay, I think everyone today is shy on speaking. Okay, Susan says that she wanted to be a doctor, and wow, now she's a software engineer. We would love to hear this story, Susan. It's an amazing story. Any other volunteer? Okay, sure, sure, Susan. Thanks. Ben Kivuva.
Yeah, Mahmoud,
Yes, Jerry.
I was having problems with my car.
I'm doing great. Yeah, I noticed. So, what was your childhood dream, and are you living it today?
Yeah, I'm into tech. Exactly where I want to be.
Yeah, sorry, Jerry. I think Jerry is having problems. Perfect. Then we can be able to continue. Then thanks, guys, for your for some of you who have managed to share their views on that. So, what are our in-house rules in this session? We would really gladly if everyone can mute themselves when they're not speaking, or when they are not even like asking any questions. We will also expect you to raise your hand if you would like to speak, or you can also write your comment or question in the chat box. Sorry, we would gladly if you will be respectfully of others, and be curious on your session. If you have anything, you can be able to ask any question. Amazing. So I know most of us know about the community, but we know that we have a lot of people who are joining us. So I would like to briefly touch on basis on about our community. So our main mission is to create a supportive and inclusive community that values diversity and supports learning and growth. Our vision is to be a leading DevOps community in Nairobi and beyond, and driving innovation and empowering professionals to excel in their careers. This is in a nutshell of our amazing team that work very hard in conducting these sessions, making sure that the community is growing and everyone in the community, benefits from everything that we share and the speakers and the sessions and all. So, how can you participate in our session? So you can help the community by running workshops, talks, submitting your talks so that we can give you a chance, running sessions like these ones, connecting us with other DevOps professions and even companies that we can partner with, giving feedback, sharing ideas on how to make the community better, sharing our posts and posting to the channel, documenting activity, and as well as organizing events. So I've just done like a brief overview of our community. Now I will gladly welcome our own DevOps engineer, Joseph Njogu. He's been doing some amazing work. He's been having some sessions, and this is another one he managed to come up with. It's about automating your workflows with Fabric. So thanks, Joseph Njogu, and welcome. The floor is yours now.
Hi, Mamoon.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, Joseph here. Think this is the fourth session and also the last session of my series. And yeah, I'm happy to be here today again. Yeah, so I think I'll just move forward and share my screen and yeah, see what we have. Okay, just a minute. Yeah, Mamoon, confirm you can see my slides.
Yes, confirmed.
Awesome. Yeah, so think I'll just start. Yeah, I think I want to change this description here. It was not all about automating your workflows, but yeah, it can be that is automating your workflows, but in this sense. Um, the way Fabric is used, it's used as okay. Fabric is a Python library which is used when you want to do a one-off command. Like you have a lot of, say, flows or other tasks that you want to execute as one. So instead of, having a list of them that wants to be executed on your CLI, you just use Fabric, which will couple them together and execute them as one command. So using Fabric. This takes precedence as the way people use Makefile if you've interacted with Makefile. Yeah, so if you've ever used Makefile or rather Make, you know how it works, and that is almost how Fabric works. But now Fabric becomes more powerful because now when you talk about Make or rather Makefile, you have a couple of tasks that you want to accomplish with your Makefile. And then when you want to execute them, or rather, like say for instance, you have on your make file, you want to say build your project. The second part or rather you want to start by testing your project. The second task will be maybe building it, and then maybe the third will be deploying it. Now when you want to execute them using make, you execute them one by one. But say you want to execute them once, or rather in a single command, that is when you come now into interaction with Fabric, because you just say fab and maybe the function that carries all the tasks that you want to execute. But yeah, we'll see that in a bit. Yeah, so today I decided not to include the slide that has me, or rather that introduces me, because I tend to think that you already know me, because as I said, this is the fourth session that I'm doing, and also I'm saying it's the last one. Yeah, so let's see what we'll be covering today. One will be seeing what is Fabric, how is it used, that is its use cases, its installation, and some of its implementation. How can it be implemented, and also in the real life application. Okay, cool. So if you have any questions, I think you'll just have to list them on the chat. Then once I'm done presenting, I'll look at your questions. Hope you're okay on that. Yeah, so now what's Fabric? And as I said, Fabric is a Python library which is designed to execute shell commands remotely over SSH. And it is expected to produce or to have a result on Python objects. Something to note, it builds on top, or rather it builds on top of invoke. And when you look at invoke is a sub-process command execution and a command line feature, and also Paramico, which is an SSH protocol implementation. I hope you people have interacted with Invoke and Paramico maybe somewhere in life. Yeah, so it builds on top of Invoke and Paramico, extending their APIs to complement one another and provide additional functionalities. Yeah, when you talk about something like Invoke, you see these are sub-process commands, which like say you say get password, when it comes to authentication, get password, get the username, invoking those commands. Paramico now, see, it works on, it's an SSH protocol implementation. When you want to work with SSH, or other like tools like Ansible, you see you have to SSH to the server. But now here, because it's a Python library, you write Python functions to interact with this SSH, or rather the platform which has SSH, and you want to execute these commands in there, or rather these shell commands in that remote server. So when we talk about here remotely, definitely we are talking about a remote server that you want to be doing these things, or rather you want to be executing these commands, or rather shells commands. Okay, don't worry, I'll be using a lot of rather in this session. Yeah, so these are snippets of how Fabric works. As I said, it's a Python library, and as we all know, anything that is a Python library, you say pip install and you import it on your code, or rather on your function that you want to, or rather you are writing, so you'll have to import it. Now here we are importing a connection. What are we connecting to? We are connecting to a host called web1 and a domain name, which is an example.com. And what we accept, or rather we are we intend it to result, or rather to bring, or rather to give us, is the username, and also to hide it. Now, you see here what you are getting is a result of web1 and where it's running. So it's running on a Linux system. Yeah, so how about its use cases? How is it used? Now you see here we have some 4 use cases for Fabric, like single commands. Okay, let's go back here. You see here we have where we are connecting to only one host, and that is how we are saying, where we are saying single commands on individual hosts. Secondly, we have single commands across multiple hosts. We will see that a bit. Python, and we have another use case where it now uses a Python code block targeted at individual connections, and also Python code blocks on multiple hosts. Yeah, so you see for the first one is single commands on individual hosts, single commands. And again, the second point is single command, but now on multiple hosts. Second, or rather on the third point, it's Python code blocks targeted at individual connections and also multiple hosts, or rather you can say just connections, multiple connections. Now I want us to look at it in code wise for each and every use case here that we have. We'll start with the single commands on individual hosts. Here we have these code snippets. Now, as I said, now here we have web1, which is just one host, and we want it to run on that host name, or rather to give us the host name of that uh, connection, or rather that host. And this is how it works. Result is equals to connection. We are okay. Remember here how we imported connection from Fabric. So Fabric has all these things. It has connection. Remember we said it works on Paramiko and Invoke, so you can get connection amongst other things in it. Yeah. So here we see it how it's used. Then the second point, it's on single commands across multiple hosts. Now, this one now works on, when you talk now about multiple hosts, you talk about parallel, serial, and here you can see we are importing serial group. So it means it's working on a serial approach. I hope tunakumbuka hizo vitu when we are doing something in physics, serial, parallel, in connection, or rather in electricity, current, whatever, those things that we are doing. So you understand what serial and parallel means. So here you see, we are doing it now on a serial that is on host 1, which is web 1, and web 2, which is our host 2. And we want them to just run on that host name. We want to get the host names, or rather what you want to intend to get. Yeah. So, and you can see here, we are sorting for consistency, and because it's a dictionary. So sort the results, items, and we know our items is web 1 and web 2. Then we get the connection of web host. The host is web 1, blah, 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 those things. Then a Python code block targeted at individual connection. Now, this one is almost similar to what we had here, but now in a Python code block. We see what we're getting here, and we want to see the disk space that we are using, or rather we want to free some space on our disk and some sort of those things. So this is how it looks like, and the result you see, we are getting a percentage of whatever has been freed. Now the case, or rather the illustration here, is not about this code, but rather the use case in a code block, that is a Python code block. And this we are running on an individual connection. Yeah, so move forward. Now that is Python code blocks on multiple hosts. And here you can see here, we have here serial group. Remember what we had here on single commands across multiple hosts. It's a single command, so it was running on this serial. And still here where we have multiple hosts, that is on a Python code block, we are having serial group with web1, web2, and db1. All these are hosts or other connections that we are connecting to. Yeah. Yeah, so in addition to these library-oriented use cases, Fabric makes it easy to integrate with Invoke's command line task functionality, invoking via fab binary stub. Now, when you have a Fabric file, it's called a fabfile.py. You execute it. You'll have functions. Mostly you have functions like the one we have here, like we have disk free. And the way you will execute them on your terminal, on your CLI, it's fab and the name of your function. So it will be fab disk free. So you can see here, we use fab binary stub. So Python functions, methods, or entire objects can be used as CLI addressable tasks, e.g., as I'm saying here, fab deploy. So you'll imagine having a function called deploy. Then we have tasks may indicate other tasks to be run before or after themselves execute, pre or post tasks. I know maybe you people have interacted with these things back there, so you understand pre or post tasks that needs to be done. Then you have tasks that are parameterized, where regular GNU style arguments, e.g. fab deploy, and you have your parameters here. You wanted to use the environment or other environmental variables which are in your file called prod, or rather you have an environmental variable called prod, and you want it to run in a detached mode, or rather silently. Then we have multiple tasks may be given in a single CLI session, e.g., say you in your Fabric file, you have multiple functions. And as I said, each and every function can be executed using fab and the name of that function. And here, if you have multiple functions, you can execute them again in one single command. Remember, the essence here is to have as a one-off command and have all your things listed or rather executed. So e.g. here you can do fab build and deploy in one line. Then its installation again. Let's remember that Fabric, as I've noted earlier, I said it's a Python library, and all the Python libraries are installed using the Python package installer, that is pip. And again, in Fabric, we have around 4 versions, but the two main versions which are supported by the community, that is Fabric and Fabric 2, these are supported document-wise, that is using the official documentation, you see that these are the only versions which are supported by fabfile.org. But for Fabric 3 and 4, these are just but extended values or other versions of Fabric which are not supported using the fabfile.org. That is the official developers of Fabric. Yes, so these are just the samples of commands that you can use to install Fabric, and you can move forward. Yeah, when you use pip, we always know that it's either we are installing it on a virtual environment, or rather also you can use it to install it on your system wise, but it's not advisable. So whenever you are working with Python libraries, most of the times we tend to use virtual environments, which I think it's the best approach in doing something, or rather the best practices in building in Python. Yeah, so ensure you have a virtual environment, install Fabric, and move forward. Then when you want to install it system wise, because most of the times when you see that you are having issues, like today I just moved from Linux to Mac and I'm having some issues, but don't worry, we see those issues that I'm having. So you'll find that you'll need to install it system wise, and this command sudo, where you want to escalate your privileges and install it system wise. So you say sudo apt get install Fabric. And also when you just want to use version 2 of Fabric, this is the command, the last command in there, that is pip install Fabric 2. Yeah, now on a simple or other sample implementation of this. So how can we use Fabric? How can we, okay, just a minute. Yeah, so how can we implement Fabric? Now here you see I have a fab file.py. I also have a make file amongst other files here. Let me remove this one here and we work with the remaining ones. Now, this is my virtual environment where we installed Fabric and its dependencies, which are listed here, which are these. So as I said, make sure you have your virtual environment, etc, etc. Then because the format of this requirements.txt, it's in this format, which means you'll have to install any other requirement which is listed in your setup.py. I hope we all know how Python works, or rather how the requirements.txt works. Yeah, so whatever else is listed here will be installed alongside whatever is in here because of this -e flag and the current working directory. So this will tell this requirements.txt, or rather the command that is pip install, that in the current working directory, find another file apart from the requirements.txt, which is either setup.py or setup.cfg. I hope we know that. This is not a lesson on that now. And you can see here the readme dot, that's the readme dot rst. Today I'm not using the readme dot md that we usually know, because the end goal here is to create something which is based on this rst. And in here on my source folder, I have images and I have this logo here. That is our ndc logo. In here we just have something small, that the git keep. We have the init.py. I know most of you know that this init.py is usually empty, not always, by the way. So most of the times when it's not empty, you have your initializations done here. Then here I have my config.py, and this one is the ndc sphinx. This is a library that is used again to build documents. So it's the configuration of what I want it to output. And as we can see, the main things here, we have the author, which is me. We have the patterns of the files that I want to be looking into, or rather I want to include when building my documents, that is index.rst, and these patterns here, which proceeds it. Then pagements, styles, things, etc. Okay, now we are not trying to explain this file here. I'm just showing you the content of what we have. And we are using latex here. You know, when we want to build PDFs, for those who have done maybe latex, you know, you have to use maybe something like Sphinx. Then you have your document, which is in maybe a text file or other an RST or README, that is .md. Then from there, you can generate a HTML, you can generate a PDF, etc. So here we are using latex for building PDFs. And yeah, so that is for config.py. And okay, in here we have this file here, a small file that is index.rst, and it has some information which I intended to describe what we do at Nairobi DevOps Community, which I think before the end of this month, definitely before the end of this month, it will be done and it will be shared with you. So from this here, from this file that we have here, this is the image that we saw, that is the NDC logo, and it has some sort of description of what maybe we intend to have, or other the visions of NDC. And as I'm saying, by the way, we need to have something constructive, or rather something concrete to have, or rather to see. Yeah, so this will be our root file, which will be generating our HTML documents, our PDF documents, etc. Then here on our fab file, but let's not first jump here. Let's come to this make file here, because this is what it's being automated by the fab file. Now in here, if I said if you've interacted with make, you know how most of the time it works. And as I said, if you want to build, like you have your project, say your Angular React project, and you know some of the things that happens when you want to build a React or Angular project, you'll say maybe npm install, npm build, and maybe npm build production, using the environmental variable production to have a production ready build, or rather, or also the dev ready build artifacts. Yeah, so you can use make to build all that. So you just need to have all the dependencies for make, that is the Sphinx amongst others, installed. Then you can do the building. Yeah, so here the essence of having this make file here was not to build those things that I'm listing, but rather to make the documentation now to ensure that whatever we have here as our index.rst is generated as a PDF, which is downloadable. You can download and have it on your machine or rather in your phone and read it. And also we can build a HTML, so an index.html file that will, if you click on it, it will take you to a browser and it will have the documentation. So if you see, or rather if you read these, maybe as a developer you can understand it very well, but as someone who is not a developer, so for non-developers, they cannot understand this file clearly though, or rather it is not well looking, or it's not pleasant to them. But for a developer, I think it looks great. Don't think there is anyone who can complain as a developer they can't understand this file. But as an non-dev, you'll not understand this file, what it does. Like, look at this line here. I don't think a non-developer will understand what that line is doing, and they'll need more explanation on the same. Yeah, so, and because we want everyone to understand the documentation or whatever we do and it's documented, and we are developers, so we want to automate the building of documents, that is PDFs, the HTMLs. So we use make. And make here, it's doing some of these things. So one, it's doing the cleaning. Initially when we build, or rather when we execute the command make, like say make HTML, it will take that on a folder called build, as it was defined up here. And this is what you can see from here. So any other time you run that command, it generates a build. So we want to always ensure it's clean all the time. So you can say maybe make clean and to remove this directory here, and it will be empty. Then when you want to make a HTML, and that is a documentation based on HTML, just say make HTML. Then you want to make also single HTML, say make single HTML or other single HTML, like just how it is. Then say you want to build a PDF, and as we said, PDFs are built using LaTeX. So these are times that maybe you'll see that you'll need to add other dependency, like say LaTeX Live, PDF LaTeX Live. It's a dependency that is installed system-wise on your Linux. But here, because we are using Sphinx, we just need to run the command make LaTeX PDF. And as I said, all these documents will be stored on this directory, which is the build dir, or rather build directory, which is build. Yeah, and you can see here we have these. I was trying to build, but as I said, I moved from Linux to Mac today, so I was facing some migration problems, but yeah, I think I'll fix that. And as I said, by the end of this month, you'll have the documentation already built and pre-populated, and you'll have it on the WhatsApp group that we are using for NDC. Yeah, so you'll see here on the make, and yeah, that's it. So PDF LaTeX and the single HTML and also HTML. Now you can see here, because we have single HTML, this will build, or rather will generate multiple HTML. So in here you can see you'll find another folder called HTML, which means you'll have in it you'll have other HTML files. Like say you'll have the HTML, yeah, that is index.html. Maybe you'll have maybe something like contacts, or maybe table of contact of contents.html, etc, etc. Yeah, so we will see that when this is done. And for PDF, we'll just have one PDF which will be generated by LaTeX. Then remember, as I said, you want to build these things using make. You'll just have to execute one command at a time. Let's say make HTML. It builds and generates a HTML for you. You want a single HTML, you say make HTML, a single HTML, and to build a single HTML for you. You want it to build PDF, You'll say make latex PDF, which again will be a single command or executed. Now you see these are three different commands that you'll have to run separately. Now we want to automate these and run them as just one command. And now this is the part where we get our fabric to do the magic. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, yeah. So let's look now at this file here. We have our fab file, and you see we are importing these things. And remember what we said, like it's intended to be executed over the SSH remotely. And because we don't want to execute this remotely, we are just using local. I hope you can see that. And because these are tasks that we are doing, so we import task from, that is from the Fabric API, and also from the context managers, we import this, the LCD. Yes, so here we want to build three things, or rather we want to build two things mostly. So we want to have the HTML, and we also want to have the PDF. So I said the first thing we do is to ensure that the build directory is clean. So we make clean, then we make the HTML, and we make the PDF. Yeah, then it's also isolated here. Say if you wanted to just execute them as just one at a time, but now this one, if you do this, you'll just ruin the essence of having the fab file here. Yeah, but here also we just have to have them. We want to build HTML, so we build this. We want to build the PDF and just build it like this. Yeah, so I think that's it. So when you want to build all of them all together, you just or rather you just execute the command fab test. And with the fab test, it will clean the directory, it will build the HTML, and it will build the latex PDF. Yeah, today it was very short from me. Yeah, but don't worry. So once I've managed to fix my migration errors from Linux to Mac, I'll share something on the GitHub and also the link to the WhatsApp group, and you'll see them. So maybe if you have questions, we can tackle some. Yes, Tony.
Hello, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah, I can hear Tony.
Okay. First, thanks for the presentation and introducing me to that tool. So, so from what I'm seeing from the demo and even a bit of the slides,
Mm-hmm.
um, Fabric is for like um, executing like shell commands in remote machines.
Yeah.
So, how like couldn't you like what's the difference between using that and maybe maybe Ansible, maybe or or these other tools like okay, now if you're using it in a program, maybe what I've forgotten the name. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
any of these other tools that
Yeah.
probably can
Sure.
do this. Yeah.
Yes. Let me handle where you've just named Ansible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now if you've interacted with Ansible, you know we use YAML, right?
Yes.
And in a best case scenario is where you have roles. And when you talk about roles, it's say like, let me list some of the roles that you have, and we want to build using Ansible. Maybe you have a role called database. This is Postgres. You have an API, which is one of your role. Maybe you have Nginx as another role. You see, those are multiple roles that you have, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So, and for you to execute them, you just run the Ansible ad hoc command to run the whole playbook and will do all that, right?
Yeah.
But now you see, when you want to control, okay, you know, when you want to now deploy, you can't or rather you can't prevent another person from deploying. Say you are all deploying on the same server, right?
Yeah.
And you want to have some sort of locking where it is only one person at a time who can deploy this thing, because you don't want collision. You don't want to have version 1 of one host and version 2 of the same host deployed at the same time. Now, this is where Fabric will come in place, because it have other functionalities that can now block, or rather can just say we are just using one thread to deploy. So it's only one person at a time who can deploy. Now, and instead of now executing the YAML files, you execute the Python script, which is your fab file, which has now that capability of executing your playbooks. Okay.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. I hope, but don't worry. If you have more questions, as I said, you can just follow up with me, and
Mm.
we can handle that. Yeah. So the essence here is to ensure that you have multiple. Remember, in when you want to execute your roles, that is using Ansible, you have multiple of them which can be executed one at a time, because maybe you have. I remember we said the way Fabric will work is when you have maybe it's a single command on a single host, and also a single command on multiple hosts. So, and when you are working with Ansible, still you can do the same, multiple hosts, but just because they are listed on your inventory. But now you want to have more control and to prevent some errors from occurring. So you ensure you use maybe Fabric. Yeah. Any other question? Okay, Mamun, it seems like we don't have other questions, or we. Okay, yeah, I see someone here, Jerry, saying, how can I reach you? I was doing some task with Fabric and Anis. All right, so yeah, I think you, okay, let me see. I think I'm on that WhatsApp group. Jerry, you can just reach out to me. Let me see. Just a minute. Yeah, so I just replied to your WhatsApp message. So you can just reach out to me. Awesome.
Amazing. Thanks, Joseph Njogu. And we're really honored, for you making all the efforts, doing the sessions and all. And, and learning that you'll be uh, doing this is your last session for the year. It's a bit. We are really saddened with that, but we have you guys, we have Joseph in our WhatsApp group, and on our all medias, LinkedIn and all. You can reach out to him if you have any question. We are looking later on to have like a mentor uh, mentorship group that will be using our own DevOps engineers to mentor most of our members. It will be an amazing thing, and we're looking also to have Joseph on board. So,
So,
guys, thanks, Joseph. So, I've just shared our social media, community links. You can just scan. I'll give some few minutes to scan, and if you have any question about the community, kindly, just highlight. If you're not in our social medias, kindly join so that you don't miss out. There'll be a lot of and plenty of opportunities, good newses, and yeah, more things. I think Elizabeth has had some wrote something in the chat. It says, first time I am learning about fabric. Good job, Joseph. Not too sure if I understood the use case, but I will be following up. Amazing. Thanks, Elizabeth. As I mentioned earlier, Joseph is in the WhatsApp group. And if also you would like to, inquire anything about the community, I can be able that there is this amazing team here. You can choose anyone to reach out to. They are all in the WhatsApp group. You can reach out to ask anything about the community, to help us in, if you have any good things you want to share with the members. Yeah, you can reach out to us. But it's been a pleasure having you on board for this session, and have a lovely weekend, everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me, and enjoy your last few hours on this weekend.
Amazing. Good night, guys.